Okay, let's move on to our second question on our 3-on-3 Blazers. Number 2 here. It's been 13 games since Evan Turner entered the starting lineup. He's joining Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, Al-Farouq Aminu, and Yusuf Nurkic. Now, barring moves at the trade deadline or injuries, should the Blazers' starting lineup be like this the rest of the season? What do you think?
I mean, yes, but I think I'm saying that more because who else are you going to go to than because I believe in Evan Turner. I mean, Evan Turner is still a misfit on this roster. He's a misfit in that lineup. You know, when you have those guys out there, you need an outside shooter. Al-Farouq Aminu was great, you know, at the first part of the season, but even in the last week or two, he's come back down. He's become the three-point shooter he was before the start of the season, and obviously you have Nurkic inside. But one thing is their net rating for this 5 is very good. It's plus 13. It's easily the best of any starting 5 they've put out there this year. Their offense has been particularly good, and the defense has been as well. But, I mean, the only 2 other options I see are Shabazz Napier and Ed Davis, and you need Shabazz Napier's offense coming off the bench. You need some firepower on that bench. If you put him in the starting lineup and started all 3 guards, and you brought Evan Turner and Ed Davis off the bench.
No offense.
Where is the offense coming from?
Right.
And so to me, like, just by default, like, this should be who it is because Maurice Harkless just isn't an option anymore.
I just think it's like riding a wave. It's a roller coaster. And I don't feel comfortable enough to say, this is it. This is a lock. You know, for the rest of the season. And I get what you're saying in terms of, by default, we've got to keep Evan Turner in there. I just think that things are going to get shuffled around. And I don't know what the reason will be for it, but someone could lose their job. Someone could move up. Someone could elevate on this roster. I don't know. It's just been so unpredictable, and that's why I think that this lineup won't hold true by the time the end of the season rolls around.
Yeah, I think kind of like you were saying, I think that this is a starting lineup by default. I don't think Evan Turner is the best fit in that lineup. I do want to point out that he's played well since he moved into the starting lineup. He's averaging about 10 points, 3 boards, and 3 assists, and more importantly, he's shooting the ball well. So he's not taking a lot of three-pointers, which is exactly what he should be doing. He shouldn't be shooting three-pointers, I would prefer ever, but he's only taking about 1 per game, and he's shooting well, and he's shooting 55% from the field. So he's playing well, but he's just an odd fit for that starting lineup. But they're averaging 106 points per game and giving up 93.4 with that 5-man lineup. So it is successful. And so I think you run with this, barring injury or barring some move at the deadline. But I still think it's hard to get excited about this as a starting lineup because it's again, it just seems like it's stagnant. It's just an odd fit. You don't have, if Aminu isn't hitting his three-point shots, you don't have enough three-point shooting. And so it was surprising to me when I looked up the stats and I saw how successful that 5-man unit has been. And so I think that the jury's out, but it is, you want someone better at the 3.
And while that net rating may be good, the Blazers are still 6-7 in those 13 games. Granted, Lillard was out for some of them as well, but in their last 13 games since Evan Turner's entered the lineup, they're still 6-7, and the outcomes are basically the same as what they were beforehand. Now you can blame that on poor bench production. There are ulterior reasons for that. But fans right now, I think, are at the point they don't care about all the minutia. They care about wins and losses right now.
Results, baby.
That's all they care about right now. And this lineup just isn't giving you anything different than what you already had.
And outside of Myers Leonard, Evan Turner is probably the most polarizing player on this roster in terms of things that people want to hear about. People want to know about him. They have an opinion about him one way or the other. He's getting paid too much, or, you know, we like him. He's a cool guy. He's awesome on social media. Like, you hear it all. But, I mean, even my Uber rides, I've had a couple of drivers ask me about Evan Turner in particular. Out of any player that you would imagine, I would think Damian Lillard would be at the top of the list. That's not the case. And so Damian Lillard, he was asked about Evan Turner and him being in the starting lineup and what he's doing. Here's what Dame had to say about Turner.
He's been real aggressive, and I always tell him, we need you to be aggressive, and we need teams to pay attention to you and to respect what you can do. So go out there and be aggressive, and don't worry about stepping on nobody's toes or anything like that. We need you to do what you do. And he's been doing that over the past few games, especially in Chicago. He really had it going, and he played a huge role in us pulling that one out.
The green light.
100%. The one thing Evan Turner's been good with is Dame says be aggressive. He's being aggressive in the right part of the court. You know, he's not putting up bad shots. He's shooting 54% from the field during these 13 games. So he's taking good shots and shots that he can make. And so while he's being aggressive, he's also being selective about it, which is the right kind of formula for him.
To Jared's point about shooting the three ball. A lot of times people say, you know, you're open for a reason.
Yeah.
And a lot of times Evan Turner is intentionally left open. It's like a temptation that most players just cannot resist.
Yeah.
If they're open from deep, they've got to take the shot. And the less that Evan Turner does that, the more successful he is, especially in that mid-range.
Yeah. I mean, those should be the shots that he's focusing on. But the problem is with Terry Stott's offense, if you are open, you have to take that shot. I mean, it's a flow offense. So that is challenging when you have a guy who, I mean, he's shooting well from three right now, but he's not a good three-point shooter. I think there's one other thing to look at with Evan Turner, and I don't know if the Blazers want to trade him, but I know that most of the fan base wants the Blazers to trade him. So if he's playing 32, 33 minutes a game like he is right now, and he's playing well, I still don't know with that contract if he can build any trade value, but if there's any chance that can happen where they could deal him to a team that sees him as a fit somehow without having to attach a first-round draft pick to it, then having him in the starting lineup, you know, getting all the minutes he can, being a part of the offense so that he's comfortable and playing well could be beneficial.
But isn't this conversation kind of a little bit like dispiriting?
Oh, completely.
I mean, we're 37 games into the year and we're talking about Evan Turner being the number 3 for the Blazers because they don't have any other options to go to right now. I mean, this is not the conversation we thought we would be having nearly halfway through the season.
They had their big 3, right?
Yeah, they had it. And now they're looking for anyone who can be a 3. And for the most part, it's been Shabazz Napier coming off the bench in terms of scoring. Evan Turner's been good defensively this year, too. But this is why so many people feel they need to make moves, even if it's one that might not help them in the short term.
Right.
And so we'll see over the next month whether that happens.
Because you've been through it.
I know, and this type of conversation is exactly what some people are tired of. They're like, we've heard about Evan Turner, we've heard about Maurice Harkless, we've heard about all these average NBA guys who are supposed to take the next step to be a 15-point-a-night guy or an above average, a plus player, and it just hasn't happened.